Can Jaxson Dart save the Giants season? On Sunday, rookie quarterback Jaxson Dart made his first career start, throwing for 111 yards and a touchdown, plus 54 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown, leading the New York Giants to their first win of the season. Doug, you wrote a piece on Athlon Sports titled, "Jaxson Dart Overcame All to Prove He's the Giants' Best Quarterback in His First NFL Start." So what stuck out to you about Jaxson Dart's debut?
Well, if you go back to evaluating quarterbacks pre-draft, and Luke, you know, because you and I talked about this at length, I was really pro Dart. I loved his Ole Miss tape. I thought he was much better than people were representing him to be. He led the NCAA last year with 17 deep touchdown passes, 20 more air yards. That's not, I'm here going, in that offense, it's just dink and dunk. I'm like, okay, are you watching a different year of Ole Miss football? Because that's not what it looks like to me. So the Giants got him 25th overall. You figure with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, they're going to start him at some point. And after what Russ did against teams that were not the Dallas Cowboys defense, there's an easy one. It just didn't work. And Russ is vomiting the ball out of the end zone in that last game. And, I was glad that Brian Daboll finally did what he needed to do, which is start the ready rookie as opposed to the veteran who's declining. Hello, Cleveland Browns. You're next. I will say this, the Giants did not give Dart an easy slate for his first NFL start. Playing at home, but the MetLife Stadium turf caught another victim, Malik Nabers, torn ACL in the second quarter, went up for a deep sideline pass from Dart. So Nabers is out for the rest of the season. Dart's playing behind an offensive line that in this game allowed 5 sacks and 10 total pressures. So he was running for his life a lot of the time. The receivers outside of Nabers are iffy. The run game is what it is. And he's facing the Chargers, who have Jesse Minter as their defensive coordinator. And that guy it's a value pack of everything. You never know what you're going to get. So a lot to deal with. He looked like a guy in charge and in control. There was a deep pass to the right side to Darius Slayton early in the game, where Dart had to scramble out of the pocket. And as he's scrambling, he's directing Slayton to come back into the void so that Dart can hit him for a third down conversion, which is what happened. And then the quarterback draw, I remember at the scouting combine, I was at Dart's podium session. He said his favorite NFL quarterback is Jalen Hurts. And you can really see that when he's as a runner, because he had that quarterback draw for a touchdown. And, it looked like he's running design runs. He converted more than one third down on design runs. It's RPOs, it's design runs. It's not just he's running around going crazy because the protection breaks down. There's that too, because the Giants' protection is terrible. But really, he looked like a guy in command. He didn't look like anything was too big for him. There were off plays where he would just throw it out of bounds, but he would throw it out of bounds. It was a throwaway. He was, I guess you could say, conservative. He had a couple of explosive plays, but really he looked like a guy who'd been in the NFL for, 2 to 3 years. And for a guy against a difficult defense in his first NFL start, I thought that was tremendously impressive.
Going back to evaluating him going into that draft, there were definitely physical tools that you loved. And there were just, for me, too many moments where you're like, what did you see? Like, what were you like? Yeah. Why did you make that decision? Why did the ball go there? But I think I point to the reaction after the game between him and Brian Daboll and how emotional that victory was for them, and them talking about one another at the podium. This illustrates how important the connection is between not just your head coach and your quarterback, but a head coach who is the offensive kind of engine for the scheme, and how well those two minds marry together, right? The system being matched to the skill set and the capabilities of your young quarterback. And I think when you have that synergy that those two people seem to have, you're most likely to get the best version of Jaxson Dart more often than you're going to get the version that's like, oh my God, what were you looking at? What were you thinking? And I think that's what gets me the most excited. Not excited, obviously, about him losing one of the most dynamic receivers in the league. Not excited about that offensive line. The ground game is okay. It's not great, but the physical tools were always there. And if Daboll is going to put him in a system and in a consistent schematic situation where he's playing to his strengths at all times, he's trying to mitigate those moments where you're put in position to do something way off of what you should. We saw a lot of good there. Again, it was somewhat conservative throughout the game, and the numbers aren't going to jump off the page. But I think the reaction from the two of them comes from the fact that they really think they are on the same page, and that connection is strong. And if that's the case, I think we're going to see the best version of him more often than not. And that's really all you need.
Well, Dart's happiness was, hey, I'm going to be a starter, and Daboll's happiness was like, maybe I can keep my job. Well, for better or worse, how did Brian Daboll get this gig in the first place? He tamed a quarterback who was very scattershot in college with a great deep arm who was a runner, some Josh Allen guy. Have you heard of him?
I don't know.
Yeah, as the Bills OC. So at the time, it was, hey, fix Daniel Jones. It turns out it took Kevin O'Connell and Shane Steichen to do that. But you can see when Dart's on the field, and you saw this even in the preseason, like you can see how this works. You can see how this fits. That what Daboll wants to do, again, for better or worse, and Daboll may not survive this season regardless of what happens with Dart, but you can see how it fits into this system. You can see the development. You can see that he has rounded the sharp edges that we talked about in college, where there was a lot of YOLO where you're like, why are you throwing it there? But he's calmed down with that, and he said multiple times during this season, I know what I did wrong and I'm fixing it. And for the Giants, who haven't, they have really great big Dave Kingman strikeout whiffs at quarterback since Eli Manning. It has to be an enormous relief.
Yeah, I think the big thing is you can feel in that huddle when your quarterback's bringing some juice to the offense and when you've got a guy who's just taken up a spot. And yep. I think that's the difference between Russell Wilson is a guy on paper who has earned the right to be a starting quarterback. Players don't care. Like, can you bring it right now? Do you give us the best chance to win? I think there's a palpable difference when Jaxson Dart's in that huddle, and I think the teammates feed off of that. And I think that's such a huge, when we talk about intangibles, when we talk about throughout the draft process and all that, it's kind of a hard word to pin down. Those are the types of things we're talking about, is when you get in the huddle instead of the other guy, do you raise everybody's game, raise everybody's confidence level? Does everybody else be like, okay, we got a guy who's going to make a play, who's going to put us in position. We've got some juice that we don't have with the other guy. I think that's what Dart has brought, and I think that is a tangible thing that we call intangible, but when you're out on the field, it's real.
Well, Dexter Lawrence said it. We believe in the kid. We know he's different. Abdul Carter said it. When the guys in your defense are saying that's a big deal. I remember, because speaking of Russell Wilson, I was covering the Seahawks in the 2012 preseason when he was the third-round pick, and they gave Matt Flynn all that money. And I'm talking to Sherm and all these guys I know. They're saying the kid is it. Matt Flynn, no. The number 3 is it. The rookie is it. I don't care where he was drafted. He's got it. And you're seeing that same thing, ironically, now with Wilson being sort of the cast aside. Welcome to the NFL. You can see that same sort of thing. So, again, a big relief for the Giants. And, Dart's going to go through his struggles, as any young quarterback would. But given the environment, the desperate need for a win, and the defense he was playing against, which threw all kinds of stuff at him, I was really impressed.
So after the game on Sunday, Jaxson Dart mentioned that he models his game off of Jalen Hurts. Do you see that comparison?
Without question. He converted multiple third downs as a runner. The quarterback draw was, these are design runs. Again, he's not scrambling to run. It's like, oh, this is a broken play, so now I have to go. They are working up different designed runs and RPO runs for him, which is very Hurts. And yes, it was a conservative game plan. No, he didn't throw the ball all over the field, but in the same way, look at the Eagles' offense this year. How on earth are they 4-0 with that offense? It's kind of the same thing where you do just enough to win, and I think Dart did.
Yeah, I think watching him as a runner, you have to have 3 things that I think Jalen Hurts has in spades, which is you gotta be smart and understand what's happening in front of you in terms of blocking scheme and who's set up and what your numbers are. You've got to be tough as hell, because you're going into the toughest part of the field when you're going between the trenches, and that's risky for a quarterback. And you just got to be athletic. You got to usually make somebody miss to make the most of that play. I thought he did well and checked all 3 of those boxes. He's not quite as big and thick as Jalen is to take some of that contact, but he sure doesn't run like it. He runs like he has no idea.
Right.
And I think checking those 3 boxes is going to make him a very, very dynamic runner.
Well, what have we said about Baker Mayfield, Luke? He's built like a tailback. He runs like a runner. Dart does the same thing. Certain guys, just because you're short and compact, okay. But, Russell Wilson earlier, I thought I was standing next to him like, this guy's built like Warwick Dunn. I bet he can run too. And that is a thing. And again, led the NFL in deep touchdown passes, and NCAA in deep touchdown passes last year. So, yes, this was conservative, and yes, it's terrible that Nabers is out for the season. That would have obviously helped him. But you're going to see some shot plays here. And it will, unlike Russell Wilson in 2025, you won't have to guess. It won't be mystery meat. So, it's the Giants. It's a rookie. I don't know how it'll turn out, but certainly Dart in his rookie debut, I thought he nailed it.
So what do you think of Jaxson Dart's debut? Let us know in the comments below.